Okay, I'm back. Excuse me. Getting to work on SISTA number 3. Left her in a very, 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 very rough form. Just because I needed to place where everything was going to be at, make some decisions about her fro, about her placement against her other sisters. Still very much in need of keeping their fros on, reposition them. On the connecting sides, I still need them to be pliable, so I'm going to take a piece of paper towel, wrap it around those areas, saturate it really well so that it'll hold in place, and also so that it can go to work on softening those areas up that are now, pretty dry, because this one in particular, I've been working on this piece quite a long time, longer than I've worked on anything else, because it's not just one sister, one brother, it's 3 sisters. So she got finished first, she got finished second, and now this is the last one with the Afro puff ponytail. I want to let y'all know I've graduated. No more plate with the slip in it right here. This is what y'all are used to mixing it up in, this bowl actually. And then I usually have a plate placed on top of it that holds all of the tools that I'm working with. They're laid out on the side here, a little bit out of camera range, so you can't really see them. But this is the new container that I'm using. Got it from Fresco y Mas. It used to be Winn-Dixie down here. And they have these cute little, plastic containers in this perfect size. And they come like 3 to a pack or whatever. And they have their lids right here. I thought this was just one, but I didn't separate it, so it's actually 2. So no more plate on top from now on. I'll use my slip, and then I'll cover it with this. So it's staying open for right now because I'm going to be using it at this point. So we're going to start refining her quite a bit more now at this stage, because I know where I want everything to go. I also know what I want to do with her clothing-wise, and that's going to be something very simple, pants and a crop top, no real detailing. But I'm rolling out a piece of clay right now that I'm pressing in a little with my fingers just to flatten it out some, because it's going to be joined right about there and make up the little tank top shirt that she's going to have on. So right now, taking the fork, and I am going to mark up the back of her. This is always a little disturbing for me. I got to share this with you. As a black sculptor, when I go to scratch up a figure's back like this, I think it would be pretty easy for you to know the memory passed down, inherited, of what my people's backs would look like after a lashing while they were enslaved. And this part always, I don't know, it definitely gives me pause every single time. But back to the lesson at hand. I know where I'm going to be placing the extra clay that I have to make up a little shirt line for her. So I'm applying slip generously to that area because it's going to have to be blended up. And I think a part of it's going to be sticking out, so I probably didn't need to put slip there. But I do need to go ahead and mark on the sides as well, because the shirt is, of course, going to go all the way around, or have the appearance of going all the way around. So I'm just going to mark that up and give that clay something to hold on to. The tape is still doing okay. It's not as dirty as I normally get it. It's not as dirty as it would normally be, and that's maybe because yesterday I was just doing a lot of refining and smoothing, not dealing a lot with new clay and the addition of clay and removing, so I just didn't have a reason to jump this table up like I normally do. So anyway, we've put slip all along that line. After giving it texture, this piece is thin and delicate. I'm not going to use the fork. I'm just going to go ahead, use the serrated edge tool to give a little texture to this as well. Sometimes I like to spray the spot very lightly where I've added slip. So I'm just tucking that around and in. I need to make that a little lower, I think. Nope. That seems to be good right there. And now I am going to take this tool that I was using to mix up the slip that's in this bowl and just wipe it off clean right here so that it has a nice fresh start. I'm throwing some additional clay on the side there that I don't need right now. And I was getting ready to use this edge, but I think I'm going to go ahead and use this edge, or this end. And you can see it's a smaller version of my favorite tool, which is this one. Same shallow concave, same vibe, just allows you to work in smaller areas. So right now I'm pressing in and upward, in and upward. Most of the slip is coming out of the bottom where I really don't need it, so I'm just going to apply that to the top there where it does need to be joined. And I'm pressing in and upward. And I'm joining this new clay piece to the existing foundation. and ensuring that it's going to stay and have a very nice seal because of the slip that was added. So you could see, if you've been with me through this whole journey, I told you but didn't necessarily show you that I make my slip a lot thicker than I used to. And there was no real reason for that, because nothing was really going wrong with my pieces. Very happy to say that I had 9 of them come out of the kiln successfully. So whatever I had done, I did it right enough to make those pieces survive. Not necessarily any reason to change, but something just always was sort of nagging at me and thinking, wouldn't it be better if the slip was a little sturdier? Because you've got these 2 pieces that are being joined, and then you're adding texture by serrating the part that you're going to join, serrating the other part that you're going to join. And I'm thinking, if that slip is a little too watery and it's sliding down or moving out of place, when those 2 pieces unite, it's probably leaving pockets. I don't want any pockets. So if I apply slip and it's a much thicker consistency, more reluctant to move and more prone to just stay in the spaces where it is, and I start applying that pressure, that slip is going to go into the grooves like that, go into those textured areas that I created, and when it dries, it's going to have an interlocking vibe. And I think that you'll just stand a better chance of a guarantee with making slip, by making slip a little bit thicker. That's not scientific. That's not anything that I was told by another sculptor. That is just something that has always been on my mind, and as a result, I thought to myself, this thought doesn't keep occurring to you for nothing, so why not ride out, go with it, and you know, everything will end up being put to the test once pieces go into the kiln. If for some reason, let's say, with using this thicker solution of slurry, of slip, all of these pieces crack, or all of the areas where I joined something together don't make it through, then I think I would be able to attribute it to the fact that I used a different slip formula that was much thicker and not as watery, and then I'll go back to what I was doing. Oh, please believe me, because everything rests for me on having these pieces survive. And because I'm not well versed enough in repair just yet, it's very important for them to come out of the kiln in one piece. That's what I'm always hoping for. So I'm going to try to do everything technique-wise that's going to give me a better chance of that happening. You feel me? So, there. And as you see, I just scrape it off onto the edge of the platform. Then I slide through, gather it up, and make one pile, because I usually end up hitting that with the spray bottle just to keep it moist. And it serves almost, I guess, I'm not a builder, but I guess it serves as almost like a spackle for those areas that you need to fill in some clay, but you don't need it to be as rubbery as it is coming out of the bag. You want it to be just something that's going to serve as a tool for repair. And when you're just doing light work like that, you don't need it to have the consistency of Play-Doh. You want something a little bit softer. I've decided that I really want to try to stay engaged and narrate this entire process, but you guys are going to have to forgive me, because there are going to be times when I go into concentration mode, or I slide into a zone because I'm focused, and I'm simply going to forget to talk. And you know the deal. Those parts are going to get edited out. Not edited out. They're going to get sped up in editing so that it helps the video go along more quickly. So instead of a 40-minute video, I've been trying to keep them down to like 12 minutes, 15 minutes, something along that range. Once again, scraping off the excess off of the tool so that it won't have all that gunk on it and create textured areas where I'm actually trying to smooth just because the tool is dirty. And when you find that you can't scrape your tool off enough, that's why you keep a towel nearby so that you can wipe it clean. Even better if the towel is a little bit damp. I just stabbed her in the back of her head with my ring, because I like to have my ring on. I think it's really, really dope. It's pretty. It's a ring and, well, it's a bracelet and ring set. That's the bracelet. You guys have seen it many times in this video. That's the ring. And it's from this dope black-owned shop called True Face by Grace. That's T-R-U Face, F-A-C-E, by Grace. And they have some amazing stuff. I've got to buy more. I'm just a little bit financially under the weather right now, so I can't go on shopping sprees like I want to. This is another ring, True Face by Grace. And I like to have them on just because, I mean, look at it. It's so beautifully black, so beautifully cultural. And I feel like, you know, while I'm doing creative stuff like this, it's a whole vibe, at least for me, at least in my process. And as you spin your sculpture around on a rotating platform like this, you just get a chance to glance at a little bit of everything, and you find yourself working on an area that you weren't focused on when you started. And that's fine. You get in where you fit in with this, and you fix things as you go along. And sometimes you spend a lot of time fixing something up only to realize it's going to be hidden, or you fixed it up for nothing because that actually doesn't work. And like I said, it is all good because you can just go back in and manipulate this clay and make your piece exactly what you need it to be. You keep that spray bottle handy and just spritz. You don't need to do, it doesn't have to be much water. You're just trying to keep it in the state of pliability that it's in while you're working. Now, at this point, I try not to spray too much because I prefer really adding in more detail and focusing on detail when it's what they call leather hard, which is where the outside feels pretty firm to the touch. Inside of this area, though, that is all very, very wet clay, and you'll see when I go to hollow her out. But I like for it to be, or it's recommended that it be leather hard when you're getting ready to add detail, because very heavily moistened clay it has a sort of sticky factor to it, you know, and you'll be trying to smooth out an area and you realize you've only dragged it into another area that you did not intend for it to be in, and that's because it's so moist that it just stuck to your tool and went with wherever you were going when you really wanted to isolate it and keep it in one area. Again, easier to do when it's leather hard. I see an area on the inner arm that requires some attention, so that's when I usually come to my pencil tool. It's just a thicker point on the end, center point on this end, and that allows you to get up into those spaces and do some smoothing and compacting that you wouldn't be able to reach with one of the other tools. And inside there is something that the person viewing the sculpture can't see, but as a sculptor, you're going to be concerned about it because you know that one of the goals is to make sure that clay is compacted and that you're not leaving air pockets. And the best way to ensure that you're not doing that is by making sure the clay is solid against itself. You don't want to join something and that's happening. You want to join it so that that happens. And when you compact the clay, like you look at this piece, it was just a throwaway piece that I keep saturated because I might need it to add something. I don't want to join something and that hole is like that. You want that to be sealed together. You want your clay to be uniform. And the only way that you can do that is by smashing it into uniformity, compacting it so that you know that the exterior and the interior are compacted in exactly the same manner so that there are no air pockets. I love exaggerated features, elongated necks, long torsos, extra long limbs and legs, arms and legs. I don't know, there's just something so swan-like and beautiful about that. Just as well as when I go in the other direction, there's nothing more beautiful than curves and a lot of rolls and a lot of points of interest, because that's how we're made. Some of us are as slender as this piece that I'm working on. Some of you don't know which God you would have to pray to get weight, just to pack weight on, because everything just gets burned away. Your metabolisms are serious. And those are the shapes that we come in: slender, sinewy, thick, fat, roly-poly, chunky, athletic builds, non-athletic builds, guts, butts. All of that is us. And we all come magnificently formed. And even when you're not happy with that form and you decide to work on it, that's a personal choice. I love that for you, if that's what you want. But for the ones who are very happy being extra, extra slender, and the ones who are very happy being extra, extra thick, I would like for my sculptures to represent all of us. And that's what Three Sisters is doing, especially this piece. Now, the first piece, there's not as much diversity. They're all pretty much, diversity and physique, they're all pretty much built up the same way. And that was what was up for that piece. But for this piece, I knew I wanted to be very specific in the different body types. So there you see, I created a point of interest for the little shirt that she's wearing. Now I'm going to create a point of interest for the neckline of the shirt, the top of the shirt. And I'm just spraying and pulling a little piece off of this clay to add on some straps. My hands are very dry because they have a lot of clay on them. So I'm not spraying the clay necessarily because it's so dry. I'm spraying because all of that clay dust gets onto the outside and forms these unsightly cracks that are really no big deal, but I just hate to look at them. So that's just what it is. So once I roll a tube like this, just as we did with the bottom of her crop top, I'm just pressing it out flat. I'm going to move her back just a little bit, and I don't know if you can see this, but what I'm doing now is just laying it flat and making the shape of it much more uniform. Because again, this is going to be the strap of her shirt, so I don't need it curving and all of that. It's going to have to lay right across her shoulder. So I'm just slicing off some excess so that can happen easily for me. And that's a little piece. It's way too thick. That's the thickness of it, but that's okay. You want to start off with things. I like to start off, let me rephrase that. I like to start off with more clay than I need, because as you're spinning your piece around and as you're examining it and as you're shaping it up to what's going to be its final form, it's very easy to just take away some clay, sliver by sliver, with a tool like this or like this. But when you have to keep adding and keep adding slurry, you know, I told y'all I keep bouncing between slip and slurry, and I don't know, that's so new. What is that? So I'm serrating edges here because that's where the straps are going to go. And you see I'm cross-hatching to make that texture very substantial, because when I pack that slip on, I want it to slide into those grooves. And I think I've made that substantial enough, so I'm going to go ahead and start patting in the slip. It sounds like I said patting with a D, but it's not. I'm saying patting, T-T, patting. And a lot of this is going to come out of the sides once I apply the piece, and that's fine. That's what I want it to do. This is the consistency of like icing, or what is it that you cake makers use? Fondant, is it called? I don't know. I think I know how to spell it though. It's like Fondant, I believe. I said, I think I know how to spell it. I didn't say for sure. I said, I think. So my slip at this point is the consistency of fondant, I guess. Or very thick cream cheese icing on a red velvet cake. God dang it. Now I want red velvet cake. It's cool though. My son's birthday is coming up, and that's what I'm ordering from my girl Breezy, who makes the best cakes. Please make sure to look her up on Facebook. I do not know what her Instagram is, but on Facebook, you can look her up under Bridget, Brigitte Turner. And if you have a need for some seriously moist, seriously delectable cakes of all kinds, red velvet, I am the biggest fan of her German chocolate, and anything else, pound cakes, anything else you can think of that you are very particular about who makes it and how it's made and the quality, I promise you, she's not going to disappoint. So yeah, you see how easily distracted I get. I don't went off about cakes and whatnot. But again, that's cool. So now I just realized I need to bring this around. So all I'm going to do is bring that around. But in order to do that first, what I want to do is serrate that area so that I can make a nice connection. Then I'm going to pick up this tool, grab myself some more slip, slide that right on into that area so it'll attach really nicely. Booyah. And now I'm just swinging this around. I'm pressing so that that slip is coming out. And I'm also making sure by pressing it in that that connection is nice and secure. So now I'm using the tool because even though this is a stylized piece, we want to follow the basics of how clothing rests against the body and how it fits on the body. So if this was an actual shirt, her arm would be on the outside of it and this part would be tucked in. So That's exactly what's happening here. I'm just tucking it in. And I'm using this tool to go ahead and press it in even more, letting that slip come right on out. You see it? It's all on the sides there. Letting that come right on out, because that is absolute perfection. That's exactly what I want. And remember, because her knees are coming up like this, that sort of is just going to get thinned out and disappear right behind her knee. I'm also using this tool to spread it a little more this way, because again, that area of the shirt would be against the arm and going up underneath. So you just want to make sure that that definition is clear enough. Now, I'm not worrying about finessing the straps right now. I am just going to scrape off the excess slip, and it joins the rest of the gunk that's on the side that will eventually be used. I'm going to take off another piece of clay. Ike, I just dropped it. You see how dusty my hands are? So I'm just wetting my palms so I can roll it. Flattening it out a little bit, just using my 2 fingers. And that's just to make the area around here where the shirt is fitting on her neck. And of course, I'm going to serrate that too. Make sure there's a nice tight connection. Now that'll get put to the side for right now, because I want to go ahead and place the other strap. So once again, just pinching off a piece that'll work for me, spraying it a little bit because my hands are dusty, compacting it by rolling, by palm rolling, just like you would locks. Palm rolling it out right about to the same thickness of the other one. That end is a little too slender, so I just flipped it upside down to get some uniformity to it. And now pressing it in the front and the back using my thumb and my pointer finger. And now we have another strap. And again, because this is sort of a delicate piece, and if I use the fork to serrate it, I would just rip it into sections. I'm just going to cross hatch somewhat lightly, but firmly, with the serrated edge tool. We had already put the slip in place here, so same thing. Pressing it down. Remember how we had to bring this around and under this arm? We're going to do the same thing here. So I'm serrating this area that I'm about to maneuver it down onto, adding some slip there, so it'll be a nice secure hold. She's rocking way too much for me, and I'm gonna have to do something about that. When you have too much excess, it's not a problem. Just move it. So I don't know if it's this rocking or her. I think it's her. And she doesn't appear to be off center. I don't think it's going to be a big problem, but it's bothering me. So I'm just going to take some of that excess you saw on the side, and I'm going to mash it up under with this tool and make a little bit more of a connection. No, not connection. I'm just going to make it more stable so that it's not rocking back and forth, because there's some air inside of that area because it's not flush up against the platform. So that's all I'm doing, is fixing that so that she doesn't rock in the way that she's rocking. I think this has a gap and it's not flush against the platform, so I'm just using this moist clay, tuck into those areas. Close in some gaps so that she's not rocking back and forth on me. Again, the shallow concave tool is great for doing things like this because it allows me to tuck underneath and then come up and make sure that that clay is being connected to what's existing very nicely. Now, I'm probably going to have to use a spatula tool to get her up off of here when I need to move her, but that's fine. That's the least of my worries right now. Okay, so we're back to the strap. And I'm just going to maneuver this a little higher, because where the other one was, or is, it wasn't really lining up, and I do want this to line up. All right, so doing the same thing, using the same tool, scraping off some residue real quick, and just pressing down, pressing clearly too hard because this strap is wider, but I'll be able to fix that. So again, one of those least of my worries scenarios. I just want to make sure that the connection is what it needs to be. And now I'm going to take and use the tip of this just to scrape away excess. Boom. Using the tip, scrape away excess. Throwing that right there. I had not serrated this, and I'm going to. I'm doing a lot of stuff out of the camera frame, guys, and I'm sorry about that. All right, now we're just going to add some slip to that area. And I'm just tucking and maneuvering it into place. All of that's excess right there. And I'm just going to take the palette knife tool and cut that off right where it needs to be cut off. That's going to be pressed down and joined into that. And the same thing here. I want to curve it up a little. I can see right where it needs to stop, so I'm just slicing into that so I can remove it. And it is removed. So now I can go ahead and start smoothing. I'm going to serrate more of her shirt because all of this clay is going to sort of slide down into this area, and I want it to connect. I don't need to add slip because it's going to be blended more so than joined. So I'm pressing and moving this way towards myself. Pressing in, down, and just using a wiggling motion until I'm not using a wiggling motion right now because all of this is being blended. There's the excess. Scooping that up into a pile. Adding these two pieces that got cut off right there. Spritzing them so that they're nice and moist. Nice? What's nice? Nice and moist, because I do know that I'm getting ready to stop filming and take a little break for myself. And I want that to be at the perfect point of usability. That's the word we're going with right now. Usability. Of course, there's a better word. I can't think of it right now. So you get usability. That's how it goes when my mind has started to shut down because I'm getting into my zone. I'm not really thinking about narration because normally I would just be working very quietly. My son is in his room. The cat's probably in there snuggled with him. And my environment, for the most part, is pretty quiet and very controlled. So this is all new. And that's why I lose focus and forget how to describe what I'm doing and forget the words that need to be used to describe what I'm doing. So we're just finishing this, joining this and pressing in, wiggling not forward, down, pressing in and sort of smushing down to blend it, pressing in, sort of smushing down to blend it. All of that is slip coming out on here. It's not really the wet clay pieces. It's much more slip than anything. It's made it a nice, slick surface. And I did that part first, or second, because this part is going to be pressed into and blended with this. These straps are going to have to be adjusted. This one is. It's much wider than this one. And again, what's that saying? Least of my worries? Yeah, that part. So pressing down and over. Pressing down and wiggling over. Same thing. Down and wiggling over to blend all of this together. Pressing down and wiggling downward. Because now I'm following the line of the shirt, so I don't want to pull over. I want to press downward to blend this side area, the top of the side area, into the middle and bottom of this side area. And using that same tool to smooth. Now this looks mad junky. Don't worry about that. That'll get trimmed away when it's a little bit harder. So we don't have to play around with that too much or worry about that too much. Because there will be several adjustments. But for right now, what we have done, you and I, because we're in this together, is set up the foundation for the clothing that she's wearing. So as you can see, little crop top. We haven't forgotten her fro. This is her piece. This is her little ponytail bun. That's going to be attached here. And isn't she cute? She's too cute. I'm turning her with the bun. It's not attached because I'm not a stylist. And I don't know how to glue or tie on a ponytail, but trust me, she's going to be all right. And that is going to be joined to her two sisters, and she'll be placed up against that. So for right now, I deserve a break because I have worked a whole 46 minutes straight. And I think what I'm going to do too, as I'm making these videos, is start announcing the time before editing, so that when it's all said and done, I can compile a total of how many hours I spent working on any given sculpture on any given day. Right now, I have no clue because all of the videos that I did, I edited them down, and then I didn't keep the originals because the files are too large to be on my phone, and I'm always getting notices from Google. You don't have any more space, buy some storage, let us take the little piece of money that you do have. And I'm just like, nah, I will delete some stuff before I give you any more of the money that I don't have, and then I get to deleting, and it's a wrap. So while I take this break, I'm going to go ahead, spray their froze once more, get it nice and saturated again. And I'm going to lightly cover her with a plastic bag. And I am going to remove this tool from my brand new slip container. Yeah. And I'm going to wipe it off with this towel because I'm trying to impress you. Because I'm normally junky. And normally this would be left with the crud on it. And then I'd come back and I'd just scrape it off. But I'm trying to be a better me so that you can be a better you in the world of sculpting. So I'm putting this cap on it. And you know what? It seals good and tight. So, yeah, my slip is going to be all right. Oh, I don't know what I just did, but I just stabbed her with my fingernail and I dented something. I don't know. We'll figure it out when I come back. I'm taking a break. Thank you for hanging with me this long, and I will catch you on the flip side. Peace.